In the same manner, if you are not certain about point 2, the illusory nature of error, you will be trying to remove sin or disease or fear or lack from some individual, and you will never succeed. Never will you succeed, actually, in healing, saving, or enriching anyone. The real secret is knowing the truth of their already infinite spiritual being. But if you think of error, if you think of some form of sin or lack or disease as something that must be got rid of, something that you must rise above, something that you must correct or change, you will not be anywhere in line with the message of the infinite way. You will not be anywhere in line with any of the revealed spiritual truth, which is a revelation of the true nature of God as individual being, of the true nature of the individual as being constituted of God. Let me make this very clear. Too many people, even in the metaphysical world, and all of the people in the theological world, are trying their best to get God to do something about poor, sick, and sinful man. They are not succeeding. They haven't succeeded in all these thousands of years. You won't succeed. If you continue to try to bring God to heal something, remove something, overcome something, you will be back in old theology regardless of what you call your faith and confidence. Now the point I am making here is this. God is not a power to be used to heal sickness, sin, or death, or lack. God is an infinite power, the infinite power, the only power. So God is not to be used upon or over any other power, but rather the Christ reveals within you that there is no power but God, and that any seeming power, regardless of its form or nature, can only be of an illusory nature, non-real, unreal. And so you see, point 2, the illusory nature of error, the why and the wherefore of it, alone can save you from the horrible experience of trying to get God to do something for you or your patient or relative. Your realization must be that God already is about God's business. God already is functioning as God, as law, as substance, as life, as peace. Your only function as a student of spiritual wisdom is to know that God is. God is functioning. God is caring for its own. God's work is done. And there's no way to do this if you are still believing that error in some form or other can only be removed or healed or improved by getting the help of God. Man cannot influence God, so don't try. But if the Christ has touched you, it is revealing to you that God already is. And thus you will know that the nature of error, regardless of its form, must be an illusory nature, an illusory form. And you will not try to coerce God into doing something about it. When you are so certain that God constitutes individual man's being, you will not be looking for any troubles to remove. When you are certain of the illusory nature of that which appears as evil, even unto death itself, you will not be looking for any God to do anything to any form of error. Then you really will be living a treatment. You will not merely be voicing it or declaring it, as you must do in the earliest stages of your practice, but you will be living it. You will be living and moving and having your being in the conscious realization of this entire treatment. Your life will be a prayer. Your life will be a treatment. But above all, your life will be a prayer. You will be living prayer instead of declaring prayer. And this does constitute the third point, the nature of treatment or prayer. In the earliest stages, remember, do not hesitate to declare these truths, to affirm them, to remember them at every possibility, until they become so much a part of your being that ultimately you do not declare them, you do not state them. You are a living witness of them. That's what it means to be a witness of God. You are a living witness to God's allness and the nothingness of error when the first 2 points are realized. Then and then only can you say that your life is a prayer, that you pray without ceasing. It really is a wonderful thing to live a life of prayer without the need of declaring it, affirming it, just as you need not declare or affirm every day that you love your family. As a matter of fact, pretty soon they don't believe the words, they believe the action. They believe the conduct. And so after a while, you won't even believe when you hear treatment or prayer in words, because you will be so much a living prayer that you will know the meaning of deep silence. It is along about that time, after you have for a period consciously known and declared and stated and written the truths of the first 2 points, that these truths become so much a part of your nature that you no longer affirm and deny, state, or think such thoughts, but you pass automatically from living the life of prayer into that fourth step, which is a constant realization of the kingdom of heaven on earth. It is in this fourth step that you touch the fourth dimension of life, in which you do not live in an atmosphere of persons or things to be corrected or healed, but rather you live in an atmosphere of God's children. You completely move out of the consciousness of a human world, and you become so imbued with God's truth that you're a continuous witness to God's universe, God's law, God's substance, God's being. This takes me now to a point about which you will hear much more in 1954 than you have heard in 1953. And that is the secret of the Bible. I discovered the secret of the Bible, and you will find it in my book, Spiritual Interpretation of Scripture. I do not know, truthfully, whether anyone else had ever discovered that secret. I do not know of it in spiritual literature. I am beginning to hear of it now. I wish that all of our students could learn it thoroughly. Every book of the Bible is a revelation of the presence of that which we call Christ, the Spirit of God in man. It is omnipresent in man, this Christ, this Spirit or law of God, but only those of spiritual wisdom have become conscious of it. And so we find Moses aware of this Emmanuel, God with us, divine presence, leading his people out of bondage only through the awareness of the presence of that power in him that we now call Christ, the Spirit of God. In every book of the Old Testament, you will find a prophet, a sage, a seer, someone in the religious foreground of the Hebrew people who knew of this divine presence, this divine influence that is within all of us. And you will find that the awareness of it by Moses, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, Naomi, Isaiah, Elijah, Jeremiah, their conscious awareness of it performed the particular miracles necessary at that stage of the people's development. The people themselves couldn't bring this about. Only the spiritual seer, sage, saint, prophet, only they knew of this inner, infinite, invisible. And their knowing of it made not only their own individual demonstration, but that of their people. Of course you know that Jesus knew all about this. He called it the Father within. He said that all things were done by this Father within. And he walked on the water with it. He fed the multitudes with it. He healed the multitudes with it. He lifted his disciples above their fishing nets. And of course, Paul worked miracles. John revealed this inner spiritual nature. And so each in his turn revealed to us that there is that within our own being which outwardly makes manifest God's harmony in our experience. In proportion as an individual knows this, he not only completes his own demonstration, but remember, he helps his entire family, community, and oftentimes nations. As you ponder the 4 points of treatment and prayer, won't you please remember also the secret of the Bible, so that you will know that this light of truth dispels darkness, dispels the illusory sense, and lifts you into a state of consciousness where you find no discords. That is the 4th dimension of life. That is the beautiful stage of life, when you are no longer battling error, no longer overcoming it, no longer fighting it, because there isn't any coming into your experience. And that which you witness as coming to others, you so clearly perceive its illusory nature that just your smile dispels it. Thank you. Thank you. I'm leaving for the mainland today from Hawaii, and hope to greet many of you in New York City in November 1953. Aloha, this is Joel.
Who's that?